We need to talk about It, Welcome to Derry. It has the most shocking opening and ending that you'll see in movies or TV this year. And in this video, I'll tell you everything that happened, what it really means, and something that a lot of people are missing about that ending. This is It, Welcome to Derry Explained. It's a prequel to the It movies, but you don't need to have seen them to watch this. If you're new here, I'm MadMorph, and this is my movie club where I talk about movies and TV, so please like and subscribe for more like this. And of course, it is a club, so join in the comments like it's a book club for movies and TV shows and let people know what you thought of this episode. You can find more of me and what I do, my Instagram, and everything else in the description below the video. The first episode begins with the word trouble being repeated over and over. The classic film The Music Man from 1962 is playing in a cinema as they perform the song You Got Trouble. The character on screen says, "Mothers of River City, heed that warning before it's too late. Look for telltale signs of corruption." This is a clear foreshadowing of what is to come because the idyllic town of Derry, Maine is not as normal as it seems on the surface. We go through the cinema and we see old ladies and teenagers, with one of the boy teenagers sucking on a girl's neck loudly. But this is where we meet our first character, Matty, who is sucking on a pacifier loudly until he's shushed. The sucking of the pacifier directly contrasts with the teenager sucking neck. It shows Matty in an innocent light and perhaps arrested development. This is when a person's emotional, psychological, or social development gets stuck at an earlier stage of life. This is often due to trauma, neglect, or dysfunctional environments. In Matty, this is manifesting itself as still having a pacifier that he is far too old for. He's interrupted from watching the movie when the cinema usher comes over and he has to run and hide because he's snuck in without buying a ticket. He runs past Ronnie and hides, another character we'll find out more about later who is sucking on 2 lollipops. The usher, Cal, says to Hank, her father, that it's the Clements boy again and it's the 3rd time I've caught him this week. Hank tells him to leave him, showing pity, saying, "Have you ever seen that damn boy's family?" Matty's face is bruised, and this is your next clue that things are pretty bad at home, that his only escape is sneaking into the cinema to stay warm from the snow outside and to avoid his family. It's also very likely that because of those things, that's why he still has a pacifier. We find out more about this later though, so stay tuned. Matty runs out and tries to hitchhike in the snow. He wants to leave town. He's picked up by a totally normal and lovely looking family in a car with a license plate that reads Dad. They wrap him up in a blanket, they keep him warm, and Matty says he wants to go anywhere but Derry. That's the town they're in. They say they're going to Portland and that they'll drive him there. In the car is the dad, the mum, and the 2 children, with the little boy playing with a toy soldier, which foreshadows some of the plots later. The mama is pregnant, and the radio is talking about birth defects from radiation from underground nuclear tests. Everything seems normal until the little girl dips her fingers into a Tupperware box containing raw liver and puts her bloody fingers towards Matty as he turns away. And the son keeps spelling out the word trouble, just like the movie that Matty was watching earlier. You might even say that Matty is starting to notice the signs of corruption. This is when things take a drastic turn, with the mother calling the daughter a harlot, saying you couldn't glue her legs together if you tried. They start to laugh maniacally, and Matty realizes they are driving back to Derry, not away from it. Stranger things start to happen as the mother encourages the boy to spell words that get more and more disturbing and disgusting. Matty is confused and pleading for them to pull over so he can escape, and he looks out the window and sees a man at the gas station, and I think this will be revealed to be his father. This really sets him off. Seeing this person, it's likely who he's suffering at the hands of at home with the license plate and what happens here. It causes him to panic and ask to be let out. The family all start to chant O-U-T, spelling out over and over as Matty tries to grab the wheel and bumps the mother's belly and she starts to give birth. They are continuing to chant O-U-T, but now to the mother and to the baby, summoning whatever it is inside to come out. Her belly swells and groans, and it's one of the most disgusting scenes of the year as she gives birth to something monstrous. The creators have said for the TV show they're going to be even more disgusting and disturbing than the movie because they don't have to worry about the rating board putting an 18+ certificate on it. They have been given permission to go absolutely hog wild with the gore and the disturbing elements to this, and they do it straight away in this opening scene, because what comes out of the mother is a mutant baby with wings, and it jumps up and starts flying around the car, sending Matty into a panic. He puts his pacifier in his mouth and covers his ears and closes his eyes, trying to block it all out. And the moment that he does, the entire family stops and they slowly turn to look at him. There is a slight pause, and then the evil baby jumps at the back of Matty's head, and the next thing we see is the pacifier flying through the air from a broken window. It lands in the river to drift into the sewer tunnel, the home of it, the entity responsible for everything that just happened. It is a haunting moment that clues you into two big details concerning it, who is most commonly recognized by people in his clown form, Pennywise. But this creature takes many and any forms that it wants to. Its goal here is to terrorize its victims before it feeds on them because it makes them taste better. It is an entity that returns every 27 years for its feeding cycle before going back to hibernating, and Matty is likely the first victim of a brand new cycle for this creature. And this is how this show starts. It seems to be fairly clear that this is it behind what happens in this car, but there is another big clue that it is when the kid pulls this face, because this is a classic Pennywise move, the old eyes going out like a lizard in opposite directions. The reason that it stopped when he started to soothe himself can be taken a couple of ways, mostly as it having reached the peak of the scare. All of what happened here was theatrics. It was to scare the child to prepare it for dinner. So when Matty starts self-soothing, this is when it knows that he's at his most scared, and it also wants to feed before he calms himself down. And the reason that it uses a family as the hallucination and attack on Matty is because this is his greatest trauma and his fear. Which is exactly the kind of thing that it does before it feeds on someone. It uses their fears, their secrets, and their traumas to tenderize them. The license plate reading Dad, him seeing his dad at the gas station, the fear of being taken back to Derry, back to his father, to then be done in by a family unit, figuratively and literally, to open this episode. It is a disturbing, shocking, and gross opening sequence that will be outdone by the ending of this episode, so more on that later. We skip ahead to 4 months later, and it's April 1962. A boy is watching military planes flying in. This is Phil. You'll find out more about him later. The plane lands at a nearby military base where we meet Major Hanlon and Captain Russo. Hanlon is the grandfather of Mike Hanlon from the It movies. They see a closed-off area and are told it's for special projects, but I think we'll be finding out exactly what's going on behind there through the rest of this season. Note that the Jeep is being driven by Dick Halloran, who is the same character from The Shining, who will also feature later in this season. He will be important. We go to the local school and we meet Lily Bainbridge and her friend Marge Truman, as Lily opens her locker and jars of pickles fall out and smash on the floor. We find out later that kids are doing this to taunt her because her father died in a pickle factory accident. Kids can be so cruel. They pass by Bert the Turtle in the school hallway. This was a mascot, if you will, of the nuclear era of public information films and known for the song and phrase duck and cover. This will be important later for a number of reasons, and the nuclear threat seems to be a running theme through this show. Meanwhile, at the airbase, Hanlon meets the 70th Squadron and they all salute except for one called Airman Masters. It is implied that this is due to racism, which will be a theme this season, as this season is going to end up covering the well-known event in the mythology of the town, a fire at a club called the Black Spot. In the history of Derry, Maine, that is where this is set. That was a nightclub where mostly black soldiers from the nearby military base would hang out, and we know that it gets burned down in a terrible and tragic fire. We'll be seeing the story of what happens there during this show, and I think that Masters is going to be involved. Throw it back to when Matty was trying to leave Derry, you can see this logo on the sign that is actually for the group that is responsible for burning it down. So I think we'll definitely be finding out more about them, who is a member, which could be in for some shocks, and even the name Masters is giving a nod to that history of racism. There's just something off about it. When we first see Masters, he's actually painting the side of a plane with a picture of a pin-up devil girl, and it's fair to assume that this is foreshadowing his own evil intent and possession by it. I would bet the house on this character being utilized by the entity, who often does this with the town bullies to his own devilish deeds' ends. We join Teddy and Phil hanging out in a bedroom as Phil tries to spy on the neighbor getting undressed. Phil is drawing a comic, and he has a theory that the aliens have already landed here and are being hidden in the airbase and tested on. His crazy theory is actually somewhat close to the truth, and the alien that he draws even looks somewhat similar to Pennywise. Look at that big old noggin. A 5-head of terrifying proportions. Teddy brings up that it's been 4 months since Matty went missing and that they were paid candy from his mother to be his friend. Teddy seems very concerned about Matty and the fact he's gone missing, and Phil just wants to get on with life. Lilly is in her bathroom, holding up her hair and forcing a smile which fades as she lets her hair down, letting us know that she is faking being okay and is actually very sad. She then plays with a turtle charm on her bracelet, another turtle symbol. I'll talk about it at the end and what it really means. She looks at it and remembers hanging out with Matty, the boy from the beginning. She opened a blind box of some kind of toy and she actually got a rocket ship, but said she always gets that one. Matty got the turtle and traded with her for the rocket ship. Lilly says turtles are lucky. Lilly shared with Matty the story of what happened to her dad and that it was her fault. She sent him back inside to get a toy that she left behind. If he hadn't gone back in for the toy, he wouldn't have tried to help with a broken down machine, crawling inside before it inexplicably turned back on. Matty tries to kiss her. Terrible timing, dude, but she moves away saying, "We're friends." The poor boy with the bad timing then says he has to go home because if his father catches him out of bed at this hour, he'll... before trailing off, and the flashback ends as he leaves. Yet another clue to the kind of home life he's experiencing. We go back to Lilly in her bathroom, and the mother tells her that tomorrow they're going to visit her dad in the cemetery, that it's been a year, and Lilly hasn't visited once. She says she isn't ready. Her mother reminds her, take her medication. Lilly is nicknamed Loony Lily at school because of her breakdown after her father died and ending up in an asylum. The mum leaves and Lilly starts to hear Matty's voice singing from the plug hole in the bath, and then a bloody finger pops up and scares her. The next day, Lilly confides in her friend Marge about what happened, and she pulls her into a bathroom and is telling her, act normal for the next 2 months, let's just make it to summer. Marge is Lily's friend, but she's clearly having a hard time being associated with her and wants to be popular. Lilly calls her out on this and saying, are you worried about what people will think of me or what people will think of you because of me? There's a funny moment in this scene where when they exit a bathroom stall and go to leave, they hear a girl fart. They turn to look at her and she says, "It wasn't me," and runs out of the bathroom. And then they just go back to their conversation. I'm not sure if this is a gag or meant to mean something, but the girl is even credited as Fart Girl on IMDb. Imagine having that on your resume. Hi, I'm here to read for the part of April. I recently played Fart Girl in It, Welcome to Derry. Lilly instead goes to Teddy and Phil because she believes them to be Matty's best friends and that they might believe her. They don't, so she leaves. Meanwhile, Hanlon is told that the Air Force want him to fly their brand new B-52 as he is one of the best pilots on the base. We see Teddy at home with his family, finding out he's preparing for his bar mitzvah, and he asks his father if Lily's story could be true. Could a boy be kept in the sewers for 4 months? His dad dismisses him, saying, "We are Jews, we know better than anyone the real horrors of this world," and references prisoners' skins being used for lampshades. The reality is terrifying enough, and to cut it out with the fantasy as he throws his comic book across the room. But at night time, as Teddy is laying in bed reading his comic, the comic, by the way, is Batman taking on Clayface, and Clayface is well known for being able to take any form like a shapeshifter. This is very similar to It, and is a very clever reference to the powers that it possesses. Teddy turns towards his nightlight and it's made of human skin. It's got a face, many faces on it, and it terrifies him. Now he believes. Another example of what It is doing for its cycle, terrifying the children with hallucinations and visions of things they fear before it eats them. Now the group is coming together. They're all starting to believe. Phil believes Teddy because he's known him for long enough to know when he's lying, and he's not. Lilly says she can't tell anyone else because they'll think she's crazy and send her back to the asylum. So they work together to look deeper into it, going to the library to look at newspaper articles of Matty's disappearance. This is also when Susie, the little sister of Phil, joins the group because they didn't have a sitter at home. They read in the paper that Matty was last seen by an unidentified 12-year-old girl at the movie theater, which Lilly knows is Ronnie. They go to Ronnie to ask if she knows anything and what she saw. She's angry because the police tried to pin Matty's disappearance on her father. But when she overhears Phil saying, "I told you not to follow up on this story of hearing a song down the drain," Ronnie reacts because she has been hearing voices too. She hears them from the basement of the cinema that she works in, the voices of children laughing and crying and calling her name. It's at this point you feel like you're really starting to get the foundation of this new cast of characters, the new Losers Club, if you will, for this series. Main characters all together, coming together to take on It. But that's not everything that's going on this town, as we're back with Hanlon, and he's in bed reading a newspaper referencing them building a statue of Paul Bunyan, the same statue that featured in the It movies. But he's very rudely pulled out of bed by a group of people in masks who say the only way he gets to live is if he gives them the specs of the new B-52. He refuses and takes a beating and then fights back, with his friend coming in and helping to fight them off. It's very likely this is a test from the military to see if he can be trusted, and this will lead to him being part of special projects. There is also the idea that Masters might be part of this group, and that's why he was beaten so badly. It could be a combination of the two. I'm not sure if Masters would be involved in knowing anything about the B-52 or using that as an excuse to beat on Hanlon, but it could be. I don't know how classified that B-52 is as to whether the whole airbase knows about it and they've just used it as an excuse to kind of beat on this guy that they don't like for prejudiced reasons, or maybe it's both. Maybe he's part of this and it's a test for special operations, but I think it's going to be leading to Hanlon being part of whatever is going on behind the scenes here. And now we come to the ending, the craziest ending in TV that you'll see all this year. The new gang of friends go to the cinema at night to put on the movie from the start of this episode, The Music Man. They think that maybe Matty was trying to tell them something with his singing through the pipes. Ronnie goes up to the projectionist's room and puts the movie on whilst the others are in the screening room, the cinema. And while they're sat there in the dark waiting for the movie to start, Lilly blames herself for turning Matty away that night, and she never saw him again afterwards, that he needed her. Teddy feels bad for missing his birthday, that they would have been with him maybe, and things could have been different. Phil says it's nobody's fault. But when the film starts and the lights come on, all three of them have been crying and wipe away their tears. Phil clearly does feel responsible, but is struggling with how he feels about it. They are all feeling a lot of shame and regret for Matty's disappearance. The movie comes on and it's the same song from the start, Trouble, and they see Matty and the weird family in the movie. They shout for him, telling him, "Follow our voices." And he does, and starts to come closer to the screen, and he's holding the baby wrapped in a blanket. He says to them that they lied, that he blames them for him being in there, because you weren't there. His face changes into that creepy, crooked smile that we associate with It and Pennywise, and he throws the blanket at the screen, which releases a flying demon baby into the cinema. The boy on the screen is probably not Matty, it's It using the look of Matty to torment the kids and to blame them for what they've done, really prying into that moment where they're feeling vulnerable about it and telling them, yes, it was your fault. Flying Demon Baby starts to attack the kids, with Teddy, Phil and Susie all running away whilst Lilly sits paralyzed with fear in her cinema seat. She then ducks and covers and gets onto the floor hiding whilst the rest try to escape. The winged Demon Baby pulls Teddy into the air, flying around with him before literally pulling him apart and showering Lilly with his blood. It then goes after the other kids as it pounces on Phil from behind, and we see little Susie crawling on the floor towards Lilly. Lilly reaches out and says, "Give me your hand," but the demon baby appears and bites down on Susie. It's at this point that Ronnie comes running into the room with a hammer to help. Lilly says they're all gone, and they run out of the cinema room and close the door, barring it. They're standing in the hallway and Lilly looks down and sees that she is still holding little Susie's hand. The problem is, the rest of her isn't attached to it. She screams a blood-curdling scream, and the episode ends. It is a shocking ending that tells you instantly that all bets are off and nobody is safe. It is an opening gambit and a marketing swerve straight out of the Scream school of thought of have Drew Barrymore in your posters and in the opening of the movie and then kill her in the first 10 minutes. But what does it mean? Are now the kids really gone? What comes next, and what's with that turtle? Here's the ending explained and your questions answered. But now is a great time to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're down there, drop into the comments and let everyone know what you thought of this episode, and let me know if you want me to keep covering the rest of this series. So why did it end like that, and what does it mean? The entire first episode is to set you up for this big swerve at the end where the kids that you thought were going to be the main characters and the new Losers Club group are immediately dispatched with, leaving only 2 remaining. Or is there? More on that later. They even had these kids in the poster until episode 1 aired, and now there is a new poster out with the actual kids, or so we're led to believe, that will be guiding us through the rest of this season. One of the creators said the reason that they did this was a narrative device to get people in the mindset where no one is safe in this world, even clearly the ones that you're going to follow over the rest of the show. It's that unexpected thing that will hook the audience into wanting to keep watching. The new poster instead features Ronnie and Lilly, as well as Marge, and characters that we haven't met yet, Rich and Major Hanlon's son, Will. But do you think you can trust this poster now, or will things still change? We'll have to wait and see. Let everyone know what you think in a comment. Here's one of my thoughts on it. I don't think Phil is actually dead, because the episode made a real point of showing us Teddy get ripped apart. It showed us little Susie's hand. We only see Phil get jumped from behind. You're telling me in this first episode, as gory as it is, as shocking as it is, and they've said they've got no guardrails on, they can do whatever they want, they're not going to have another sort of big gory death for one of the kids in this opening sequence? The golden rule of movies and TV is if you don't see the body, they're not really dead. And unless we see that at the start of the next episode, I don't think Phil is dead. And if he is, then they probably did a scene that they decided to cut, because it's very, very strange that we only see the baby jump on him and we don't actually see what happens. But my money is on Phil actually being alive. Whilst we're talking about the kids, Ronnie is brave AF. I think there was some masterful writing there with the fact that she was trying to go down to help. When she tries to run from the projectionist's room to go and help the kids being attacked by the baby, the door slams. I think it is a little bit scared of Ronnie, and that's why he contained her up there whilst taking care of the others. The fact that she saw what was happening to them through that projectionist's window and she still ended up grabbing a hammer and going in there to help shows that she's going to be a problem, because if there's one thing that we know, when people aren't scared of it, that is when he has a problem. So I think we'll see some pretty interesting stuff as it tries to work out what it is that scares Ronnie and to face off with her. Is Matty really dead? I don't think that the voice the children heard was Matty. This is not the Black Phone. There aren't ghosts from beyond trying to help them. I think this ending 100% showed us that it was it using Matty's voice to trick the children into doing what he wanted, to bring them to this cinema so he could feed on them. This was its plan the entire time. Taunting them, scaring them, seasoning its food, bringing them into the cinema, and ringing the dinner bell. But what even is it, and what is the significance of the turtle? Here is a really quick crash course on what you need to know. It is a cosmic being that crash landed on Earth millions of years ago from a void outside of our universe called the Macroverse. There it lay under what would later become Derry in an ancient slumber for millions of years until it awoke when humans settled on the land. Since then, it has a feeding cycle of waking up every 27 years and eating people from the town before going back into hibernation. The lore is deep on this one, so I'm not even going to go fully into it in this video. We'll do it through the season, or if we do a full It movie review, but that's what you need to know to understand the significance of the turtle. The turtle is symbolic of Maturin, another being in this world of Stephen King's Macroverse, and it's referenced in It and the Dark Tower. Maturin is the opposite of it. It's another cosmic being, but it's one of the 12 guardians of the beams and represented as a giant, huge turtle. Apparently at the beginning of this Macroverse, there were only two beings in existence. One of them was Maturin, and one of them was It, which to me is reminding me of Zoroastrianism, which has the supreme creator deity, the Ahura Mazda, as well as its counterpart, Ahriman, the spirit of chaos and evil. The entire point of that creation story is the dualistic struggle between good and evil as its fundamental concept, and that just sounds exactly like what's going on with this turtle and It. At least to me, that's what it reminded me of as someone who isn't an expert on the lore of It and this Macroverse. It's something that I'm definitely going to be diving into more to try to understand, but just from watching this and the movies and kind of knowing that that is the vibe, that is what it reminds me of. There's actually probably lots of religions that have a similar story, and that's where inspiration was taken from, but it's definitely the first thing that came to my mind. So Maturin is the opposite of It, and it's this kind, gentle, compassionate, benevolent being, and It doesn't like that. They're kind of like nemesises to each other. Nemesi, you know what I mean? And in the past, Maturin has been known to act as a guide for people and aid the children in some way in their fight against It. So now when you watch it and you see the turtle symbolism, when you see her bracelet, and when you see the turtle saying duck and cover, you know that this is not a coincidence. This is Maturin giving gentle, secret guidance to Lilly, just like she did in the cinema. Ducking and covering literally saved her life. Maturin saved Lilly for what is to come. It is all connected, and whether Maturin will remain a spectator or actually get more involved in helping this next group of children will remain to be seen over this 8-episode run. But what comes next? Clearly anything can happen on this show and there's going to be more surprises still to come, but what we do know is that they already have a new season planned. 2 new seasons in fact, with each of them taking place 27 years behind the last one. Remember, it comes back every 27 years and this show is going backwards, so season 2 would be in 1935 and season 3 will happen in 1908. We're working our way backwards through 3 cycles of the story of it in Derry. And I think that's a pretty cool idea. I'm pretty excited to see where this show goes. It could just be that this was an amazing pilot and then it completely falls off. I don't know, but I'll be watching next week to find out for sure. Let me know what you thought of this episode in a comment below. Let me know if you want to hear more about this show. Let me know if you want to see me do a video on the It mythology and dive into that and see what I think of it. You can do all of that in the comments below and share your thoughts and opinions with your other friends in the movie club down there. Until next time, there are some videos on the screen to click on if you want another ending explained. I would love to have you over there as well. Or you can find more of me at the links in the description, including my podcast where I read books to help you sleep. It's completely free. Or my gaming channel if you're a bit of a gamer. Come on over and join me on my other channels. Until next time, don't have nightmares, and good night.